it wasn't until I got to start painting the stuff that I love and making those connections with people and getting to talk about what I love that it lights me up, right? Like it's work, but I love it and I get to do something that I love.
Keep it nerdy. Keep it nerdy. Keep it real nerdy. Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work. Life's a game, so I'ma take my turn. Nerds deserve to put their passion first. Let them rap a verse so they can all be heard.
Yeah, my nerdy passion basically is drawing.
Correct. I'm a breeder of tarantulas, importing tarantulas and some other critters.
I am a harpist. I do mainly Celtic harp, video game songs, songs from nerdy TV shows.
Obviously, I'm big on Star Trek.
It is creature design, fantastical biological creations out of watercolor.
We are dice retailers.
Nerdpreneur, you know I love my work. Life's a game, so I'ma take my turn. Nerds deserve to put their passion first, so let them rap a verse so they can all be heard.
Welcome to Nerdpreneur, where we have fun conversations with people making money with their nerdy passion. As always, I'm joined by my co-host, Frank.
Yeah, hello.
And today we have a very special guest, Jenny Johnson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
We're excited to have you on. And for all of our listeners who don't know you, what is your nerdy passion?
Star Trek, full stop. So I am a traditionally trained oil painter. And I've taken that and the skills that I learned over many years of painting portraits and landscapes and civilian stuff. And I've combined that with my love of pop culture, Star Trek in particular. And now I make large-scale, hyper-realistic paintings, traditional oil paintings of iconic scenes and characters from pop culture.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
And can I ask as well, you're full-time doing this as an artist, right? This is your whole gig.
Amazingly, yes.
Wow. That's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. I think there's a lot of artists out there that are actually, that's kind of what they want, is to be able to do this thing called art full-time. And specifically, like I've seen you got all sorts of genres, but what are some of the nerd sort of genres or I don't know, like what would you call them, cultures that you have delved into with your art?
Yeah, I mean, so yes, Star Trek certainly, but what else? Like I'm doing an Avengers painting right now. I've painted Lord of the Rings. I've painted Supernatural, Lost, Torchwood. Yes. Doctor Who, obviously, as an extension of Torchwood, or Torchwood as an extension of Doctor Who. And I've gone back and done, I've gone back and looked at I grew up in the 80s, so that nostalgia, like Back to the Future, the Goonies,
Stranger
Aliens.
Things too, right?
Yes,
I think you've done a few big Stranger Things paintings. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All in that vibe. That's awesome. So, you've been doing this for a while. I'd love to get to know, like, how did you go from were you always a professional artist, like doing this like work, or did you transition out of like kind of day job style, like living into this amazing nerd artist lifestyle?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So I graduated from art school in 2006, and I worked my way through art school working at Eastside Mario's for 4 years, which is a restaurant. I spent 23 years in food service, bartending, waitressing. So I didn't leave that job. I left Eastside Mario's, but I continued to work in a variety of bars until 2017. So that was actually, So it was absolutely my side gig for all that time.
2017, you got out at a good time.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I actually really lucked out because I happened to be working in a place that I liked, but the boss was terrible. And I was just like, that's it. I need to get out of here. And a friend of mine told me about a job that she was doing online. This is 2017. teaching English to kids in China. And I got that job and ended up doing that for 5 years. And I was able to get out of bartending. And because that job was first thing in the morning, because it was evenings in China, it let me be finished work at like 11 o'clock in the morning. So all of a sudden I had time and bandwidth to actually work, to actually, start really kind of thinking about what I wanted to do with my art instead of just kind of picking up commissions here and there, which is more or less what I'd been doing since I'd gotten out of school.
So you found something that fit in with the lifestyle that you wanted, or did you kind of not know that you wanted to do that? And did it just kind of fall into your lap and you realized, hey, I could probably do some of my art now with more energy?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if I could work from home? Wouldn't that be great? And it just sort of, it really did fall into my lap. And it happened at exactly the right time because there was 5 years of great work there. And then 2022, the Chinese government input a bunch of whole new regulations about Western teachers. It turns out we were not the influence that they were looking for. So, so the online English industry basically kind of collapsed at that point. Yeah. But that was also the point that I was like, I think I'm ready. I just made sure I had a bunch of commissions lined up at that point. I was like, okay, I don't have work lined up. So I'm going to, make sure that I have paintings lined up for the next few months. And then that just kind of started, I don't know, just
started to build. Well, this is a consistent question we have with our entrepreneurs, because there's two philosophies on this. You can really go into business gradually for yourself. Like some people, they test something and they go back and forth between different options while kind of holding down the day job, and it was on the side, and then eventually they replace their regular income and kind of slowly transition. And then there's the philosophy of burn the bridges, burn the boats, just dive in. I got some credit and let's go. Let's make a business. So it sounds like you kind of were a little bit in between there, but what helped you make that transition from the part-time to full-time?
Well, in 2018, I had a couple of years earlier done a couple of paintings. I did a big TARDIS because I realized I had never painted anything for myself. And I just was like, I want to have something cool to put over my couch, so I did this really intricate, huge painting of the interior of the 11th Doctor's TARDIS. And I put it on Facebook, and there was all this kind of response. People were interested,
Wait,
and then
nerds were nerding out?
Yeah, exactly.
No way.
Yeah. And
just on that, so you posted something on, what did you post? Just a picture or a video?
Just a picture of, no. And back then it was just photos, right? It wasn't, it wasn't nearly, social media. Oh, we'll get there.
TikTok.
Yeah. And then I did another a piece from Stand By Me for my partner at the time. Same thing. People were just like, whoa, this is amazing. And I have a bunch of friends who were really involved with the local convention here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, HalCon. Shout out to HalCon.
A fellow Canadian. I didn't know that was Halifax. I'm in Vancouver. That's awesome.
Oh, amazing. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Frank's not Canadian. I just want to clarify
I'm
that.
honorary Canadian. I lived in Vancouver for 10 years. I appreciate that. That's okay.
Thanks. Yeah. Some of my best friends are not Canadian.
Yeah. I appreciate the sympathy from the two of you for the fact I'm not Canadian. To be fair, I really did want to be in Canada, but there's only so long that you can keep an American around up there. So
it's true.
Anyway.
So you started, was it would you consider it was virality right off the bat, or was it just way more interest than you expected?
More interest and just people responding to it. It was just showing that, there's maybe something here. And then, and then this local convention, some friends of mine talked me into applying to have a table, to actually, and, make some prints of the work that I was making, because I, given that response that I got, I started, okay, well, what else could I paint? What other cool things? So I just started coming up with a list of stuff I thought was awesome, basically. You know, so I
Nice.
painted the poker scene from the finale of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I painted Gandalf with the Balrog. I painted the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. So I did 12 paintings in about 8 months, something like that, which at that time was
That sounds
a
like
lot.
a lot.
Yeah, I mean, it is a lot. It is
Wow,
a
that's a
lot.
lot.
But and because I had all this extra time, I actually was able to do it. You know, that was the most that I had painted in, you know, in 1 year in my life. So the convention came around in the fall. I made prints. I sold prints. And all of a sudden, this was like, oh, okay, this is a thing. And then I opened up an online shop and started selling them online, and that was successful.
One of the things that we have heard from some of the people that we've talked to is how much success they've gained from going to conventions. And what are some of the things that you found really beneficial about going to a con that did or maybe didn't surprise you?
I mean, I wasn't surprised. No, let me say that. I was surprised. I was surprised because, you know, and this is a pretty universal experience from talking to other artists, other vendors. You go in with this stuff that you've made that when you made it was like, this is pretty cool. And by the time you bring it into the convention, you're like, this is the biggest pile of garbage. No one's going to want this. You know, I just painted a bunch of stuff that I like. Who's going to want to put this on their walls? And it was like a revelation to me that people just started coming up and buying them. You know, I mean, I sold original paintings at that convention. I sold 4 of them.
Wow. So you had original artwork to sell.
Yeah.
So did you underprice or overprice your products at the time? I'm curious.
That's a great question. I overpriced the prints. And for some reason that wasn't a problem. People bought them anyway. But I significantly underpriced the paintings at that point.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah. I mean,
it's such a common thing we hear about people going to their first con. They're like, oh, I should have charged more for this or charge less for this. That's why I was curious. Do you still do cons? Are you still going and selling at things like that?
I do. I had actually intended to branch out more. Like 2020, 2020, I had Fan Expo Toronto and Ottawa Comic Con both like booked and paid for.
Nice.
And then both of them ended up being canceled. So that just kind of derailed it. But I also just got busy. I'm selling enough online that it sort of takes the sort of urgency of trying to get to those other shows. Although I really, really want to, because I love vending at conventions. Like, it's just, there's nothing like being at a convention and every single person that walks up to you is so excited about like just maybe lots of things, but maybe just one thing, you know, and everybody's so stoked about the thing that they're excited about, but they're also so stoked about the things that everyone else is excited about. Like, they're just like, you know, like people walking up to cosplayers and being like, oh my God, you look amazing. I don't know what you are, but you look so great. You know?
It's definitely infectious at
con,
you know, just the energy that we were just at PAX, and then before that we were at PAX West, and just before that we were at Emerald City Comic Con.
Oh, nice.
And the energy at the two of them is very similar. I mean, Seattle, maybe it has something to do with the energy here, but the vibe is very, very much like that. Everyone is so excited and so happy to be there. Is there an aspect of that charges you or fuels you? Because sometimes we hear varying degrees on what it's like for people to be at cons.
It's short answer, yes. It's the best. It's so fun. It's so gratifying, you know, getting to have those conversations with people. You know, nothing makes me happier than having somebody walk up to my booth and just start naming everything.
Yes.
You know, oh, that's Back to the Future. Oh, that's, you know, it's just like, I love that. It can also be absolutely exhausting because the folks who come to conventions are a wide variety of of people with varying, social comfort levels.
Yeah.
And you really have to match your energy to the people you're talking to. And that can be a lot.
Yeah, I guess you really experience all different types of people at that, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, and I mean, at least that's what I found. I've not been to that many conventions as a
Mhm.
participant, but I remember talking with Frank about like, man, we got this is a wide range of people from like very young to much older to
Oh,
all
yeah.
different energy levels too. Of like, some people are super excited, some people are very laid back, and they're all nerds though.
Yeah.
And that's what's kind of great about it, is that there's this unifying culture thing that's happening where people get to go and find their favorite thing at that con.
Mhm.
And when they get to see your art, I bet you some of them are like, oh my God, that's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's got to be so cool. I
Mhm.
wanted to ask, like, why have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur, or is it one of those things where you're like, why did you become an entrepreneur? Why did you choose to do this?
It's funny because I went to art school and they taught us how to, apply for grants and try to get the government to give us money.
That's old
Um,
school.
Yeah.
yeah, but there was
Welcome
no,
to Canada.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
There was no emphasis on making commercial art.
Mhm.
So, if you suggested that you wanted to make art that people might, like and want to buy,
Yeah.
people were like, what? Like it was,
It's a
yeah.
taboo
So
subject in art school, I'm sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
right. And
capitalism, no.
absolutely, absolutely. And I don't know, like I wanted to make art and I wanted to make art for a living, but at that point it didn't occur to me that it was going to be a business model, like that there actually was a business in there. It turns out it's a business.
When you were in school, were there any classes for starting a business, or even like, say balancing your budget or having expenses and revenue accounted for? None of that.
No,
Wow, what an
no.
opportunity
Oh
at an
yeah,
art school.
yeah. No,
This
I mean, I think there's a little bit more now. I think they do stuff like, taxes for artists and
Hey,
some of that
that's
stuff.
great. That's
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
but so just so we get it on camera and on
Mm.
recording, you're saying it's possible for a artist to make money and run a business as an artist and be successful.
Yes.
But well, seeing as how art school did not prepare you at all in that way,
Uh-huh.
right? How did you learn this stuff? Was it trial and error? Did you read anything, or yeah?
Let's see. Yes. Definitely trial and error. I'm blessed and cursed with an ADHD brain, so research is, I love a bit of research, right? So I definitely, figured a lot of it out as I went. I met an artist who's been doing conventions for years and years and years, probably 10 years before I had even started. And he and another artist started a podcast called Super Pulp Science. He's Justin Curry. He goes under Chasing Artwork, and they do this really great. They do lots of conventions, so they just kind of decided to make a podcast about how that all works. They self-publish comic books too, so talking about that, talking about conventions, and being really open and transparent about what works for them, what doesn't work for them, how how it's all evolved over the years. So I listened to every podcast they ever made.
Cool.
Which was very helpful. Yeah, but I mean, stuff like, starting initially I had an Etsy shop. Figuring that all out was, yeah, a lot of research, a lot of trial and error,
You say
figuring out.
initially you had an Etsy shop.
Yes,
So you don't anymore.
I do. I
Oh.
do have an Etsy shop. So this gets into the IP piracy issue. This is the whole part of my business.
With pop
That's
culture, that would be tricky.
Yeah. So this is the, fan artists like myself kind of walk, let's say, a tightrope, because we basically operate at the pleasure of the IP holders.
Mm.
So
yes.
either they say, hey, you know what you're doing is helping build our fandom, it's helping create a community. You know, you're not taking a huge chunk of the profit. You're not, you know, you're not doing anything to like harm the IP.
You're not
Yeah.
robbing them of profit by using their IP.
I mean, you know,
Totally. Yeah.
So, but that said, every once in a while, companies will just do a sweep on, especially places like Etsy, because there's so much knockoff stuff.
Oh, sure.
And I got caught in one of those sweeps back in 2022. Myself and a few other Star Trek artists all got nailed.
Whoa.
So I mean, it's just and that's just you know, all the listings get taken down. So at that point, that was one of those points where I was like, okay, it's a learning moment. So now we pivot. We learn something else. We figure out, you know, okay, how do I open a Shopify? You know, how do I better protect myself in terms of, you know, not
letting this happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That for sure. You know, figuring out a new platform, you know, and having a moment like that where you're like, oh, my whole business is, and then realizing, oh, actually, okay, no, there are steps I can take to sort of figure this out. Yeah. And
that's a
in
great...
the end, that was actually a really positive thing in the end, because Etsy is not super great. And yeah, it allowed me to take better control of what I was doing and how I was running my business. So that actually in the end was a really good thing.
It's also a great point about diversifying. You know, we hear diversify your portfolio as for investments, but also for your business and the different ways you get revenue. Can you briefly tell us some of the ways that you have diversified where your revenue comes in from?
Yeah, I mean, so I still do original paintings, pretty almost solely commissions right now.
That's
up until last year, I was still managing to put out a few paintings a year that were just sort of on spec, where I was just like, I want to paint this, and I did. Right now, I'm booked for commissions into like spring of 2025. So
great.
Yeah, which is crazy. So right now, that's the spec part of it isn't really happening right now. So commissions, number one, prints, obviously. And the online model, I mean, that's where like the bulk of my business comes from.
Is the online model just, I have a Shopify, I put prints up there and drive traffic, or is it more complicated than that?
It's because, okay, so because one of the things about selling fan art is that if you don't want to be, you know, hit with IP takedowns, you have to, you know, not be, you basically have to do the opposite of SEO. Like you have to just go, oh, okay, this is, search engine optimization. So so you don't put tags on it. You don't use character names. You keep it, you just keep it on the DL.
That explains the titles for your pieces.
Yes, exactly.
There's
and if you,
hardly any reference to any of the IPs. That explains it. And also explains, like, so that means you probably don't do a blog. I haven't really searched for a blog.
No, I mean, I have a website, but same thing. Everything is just, you know, where I have a portfolio, it's just, those are the names of the pieces. I like to use quotes from the shows. Yeah.
But you're not fostering organic traffic.
No, none.
I see.
So that was a big change because with Etsy, I was, you know, all over the SEO and it basically has its own search engine. So it was just running itself. So when I had to switch to Shopify, all of a sudden I realized, okay, I have to drive every single person that's going to come through this website has to be sent there by me.
Right.
So that sent me into really getting serious about social media.
Yeah. Well, you've done a great job of building a social media, it seems like, anyway. And I have also seen you have gone viral on a number of your posts. And for us, you know, virality means hundreds of thousands to millions of views on some of your posts. So can you tell us about, like, I want to hear about when you first the first video that went viral.
It was on TikTok. And it's a video that I've used actually a bunch of times. Like I've reposted it more than once, but this time in particular, I found an audio by this great, he's an actor and a musician, and he's got a kind of a nerdy blog, Tom Bottleson, just talking about why he likes Star Trek. And I took his audio and plopped it on just pictures of me either painting or showing off my paintings, and then adding my own story of, why I love Star Trek. And that just that exploded. I mean, several 100,000 views on TikTok in like a couple of days.
How long ago was this?
That was actually, when was that? Was that 20? It would have been honestly 2022 because it basically, once I switched to Shopify, that's when I started, even looking at TikTok, and that's
Since then, what do you, and the time that you've had to reflect on that, what do you think have been some of the reasons for it blowing up?
That one in particular has my story. It's got his audio talking about, the hope behind Star Trek and how a lot of science fiction is very dystopian and Star Trek isn't. So that is it's something that some people really agree with and other people have a lot to say about. So, there was a lot of conversation, and then on top of that, just people going, whoa, the art's really cool. Whoa, this is great. And also people, connecting with my story. So it was it was really cool to see, and see people like fighting in the comments and stuff, and that's great for engagement.
Yeah, it is. I mean, yeah, we know it. That is super interesting that there were opportunities for people to connect in multiple levels. I feel like that is something that is a bit of a unicorn to achieve. Unicorn isn't appropriate. A unicorn implies pure luck, whereas this is actually something that is an art form in itself. It's like, if you can get the equations just right and the formulas and the chemicals just in place, you can create something that just harnesses an engagement from that community. I don't often hear people complain about Star Trek's like utopian future. If I ever do, I'm like, well, you realize there was a World War III that happened and 2/3 of the Earth died to get there. So quit your complaining.
Exactly.
That's usually what I tell people. Yeah. Okay. So that was
back to business. No.
Yeah. So
no, we nerd out. We go down some nerdy tangents.
I love it. That's awesome. I'm so on board for that.
I wanted to ask you though, like, do you understand the algorithm? Like, or do you feel like you have an understanding of it, or do you feel like I just put on my stuff and some stuff goes?
I have an understanding of it, like, as far as it works for me. I also paid, once I hit 10,000 followers on Instagram, I got the meta verified thing, because I realized like that, that account, those people are a resource. And if it got hacked, if it got, there's a protection there.
Right. Yeah.
But one thing that's really cool about that is that you actually have the opportunity to talk to a human about best practices for Instagram, which
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, which was so helpful. And just, even down to stuff like how many times to post in a week, how many reels, how many regular posts, how often to be trying to, interact with people, answering comments. But yeah, like the algorithm, and I mean, it's different everywhere. TikTok is a different beast than Instagram. Facebook is a whole other thing too. All of a sudden, my Facebook has sort of started growing. Like, I have a Supernatural reel right now going off on Facebook, and I'm just like, and I just threw that up earlier in the week Like I didn't even think twice about it. I was just like, oh, it's an anniversary. So.
And the algorithms are they're fickle, right? They do change too. And so they will go up, they will be down. Like some content we put out, we don't know where it's going to go. I don't know that we understand it, but you did mention some things that just seem to be like tactics as far as like, if you do these things, this will probably help.
Yeah.
Like you just mentioned, like posting in a week or those sort of things. Like you got to talk to someone specific about it. Like, are those now ingrained in you? Like if I ask you, like, how many times should you post a week? Do you just have an answer? Like, oh, I post 4 times a week. Is it?
Well, there's what I should do, and then there's what I actually do, which isn't necessarily.
You mean you don't stick to a hard formula
here? Oh my god! I've been trying. I've been trying to figure out, because people, they talk about, I'm going to batch all my content and I have all this, like everything's scheduled to go. Meanwhile, I'm here, like at the beginning of the week, I might think about it for a few minutes about like, okay, what am I going to post this week? But it's 90% of the time I'm flying by the seat of my pants. If I manage to get 3 reels out in a week, I'm golden.
What is the objective? Is it 3 reels? 3 reels or?
Yeah, 3 reels, and at least 2 other, and this is a minimum of 3 reels, and then a minimum of like 2 other posts, maybe like a carousel, something. Yeah, they like the carousel right now because they're anything that Instagram brings out as like a new feature.
They're going to promote it.
Yeah. They.
All right. Well, Chris, we got to quit the day jobs and start pumping out this content. I'm convinced now that we got to do this. So I'm going to hand my resignation. Give me just a sec.
Yeah. It was interesting because in the spring, my account went from, I had 5,000 followers on Instagram, and it went up to, it's now at like 34,000 in the matter of a couple of weeks because of, I was working on this Deep Space Nine painting, and I was just doing updates, and something about the way that I did the updates just like blew up. That was the first reel that I ever had that hit a million followers.
Yeah.
A million views. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute. You just said you were at 30 something thousand. How did you? That's astronomical.
Yeah. No.
Is this sci-fi?
My guess is there's probably some form of storytelling around the updates of like, oh, look at this painting, it's getting better and better and better, right? Every time we check back in. And what role does storytelling play in your content creation now? Do you think about it like that, or is it
more so since I did that set?
Okay. Yeah.
And then I was able to really kind of like it just allowed a connection that just putting up a piece of art doesn't really allow. I mean, I always try to write something that's a little more interesting than just like, here's my painting. But the fact that it was just this ongoing, like I was updating it every couple of days. It just seemed to really strike a chord with people. And I mean, Deep Space Nine specifically is, I think, a very underserved part of the Star Trek fandom. Or underappreciated,
I would agree with you. It is, it's like the best, and there's just not nearly enough stuff about it. It's like, I honestly think it's my favorite now. I do.
There's a lot of people. It's funny. This comes up quite often.
It does.
And everyone says, yeah, Deep Space Nine is probably my favorite, and everyone says it in this way, like you just did, of like, I feel like it doesn't get the appreciation it deserves, is what they are saying. And I'm like, completely agree. Like,
well, everybody says TNG, right? Like everybody, like a lot of the times and you can't argue with that, or they say the original series, and you can't argue with that because it's like that just happens to be where they fell in love with Star Trek. But I kind of fell in love with Star Trek with TNG, watched DS9, and was like, I think I like DS9 better.
That's awesome.
I don't know if it was just because like there are these things that come into our lives during formative times, and you're like, I needed DS9 at that point in my life, so that's why it matters. But I'm sticking with that answer.
Yeah, so. That's awesome.
Jenny, which one for you is probably the top series?
TNG, but again, that's because I found it at a point where I desperately needed something. And that became my world, my little family, my friends. Like that was, because I was in school. It was grade 7. I was getting bullied. It was just, so I would, I got to completely escape that with TNG. So, Yeah. And actually, I didn't watch all of Deep Space Nine or Voyager or Enterprise until 2019.
Oh, okay.
Like all the way through. I mean, I saw reruns
There's
for
an
years and years.
appreciation
But
for those shows that when you're an adult, it's like, because I'm rewatching
yeah.
TNG, and my first time I watched it, I was like 7. And so now I'm watching it and I'm like, this writing is amazing.
Right?
Oh my
So
God.
good.
These
Yes.
themes, like Riker is like the masculine macho guy, but they have an entire episode where he talks about saying I love you to his dad. Oh my God. Like they're tackling big things
And
here.
that was in like 1988, you know?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yes.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, Deep Space Nine it's better.
Yeah, it's a serial.
Like,
It's the
it's
first like
better.
serial instead of episodic. They're carrying on a story that spans all of the seasons, which I think was the first time for Star Trek. And you know, it's funny. We actually had a guest on that is he's pretty much like a Star Trek scholar. He's a Star Trek and a Star Trek comedian podcaster. But the way he talked about Star Trek, he knew all of the actors, the writers, producers, directors, and he would just say like, well, you know, when Jonathan Frakes had this idea, you know, and he would go off and he's like, I say scholar, and it's probably even deeper than that, but it is remarkable. And I'm sure you've encountered these people online that are just,
I am
what
these
they
people.
know. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
These
Fair.
people online.
Yeah. These
Us?
others.
Yeah. But yes,
Not
there's,
us.
you know, I know a lot, but then there's people that it's
Yeah.
just this whole other
I thought
level.
I knew a lot too. And then I met these people, these others, and I was just like, oh man, I am humbled. I am so humbled.
Yeah.
What's your philosophy just on marketing? I wanted to go in that direction because I think, like, what is your philosophy with marketing?
I mean, I feel like I myself am generally my best resource in terms of marketing. You know, so I go down to Vegas and I've got shirts made up with my art on them, and I've got my name on my website on, you know, on the back. And people are recognizing me from social media, because I also try really hard to show people who I am, in addition to just like, oh, she makes nice paintings, but also like, oh, she's, you know, a goofball.
You're part of the brand, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I mean, social media is huge. It's just it's so huge in terms of what it brings and what it has brought me. It also, I finally got a mailing list going.
I was going to ask about that. Like, I'm curious, what is your social media philosophy in dealing with it, you know, on a day-to-day basis? I think we all know that there is a consistent, ever-sucking force that draws us towards the social media. And there's a lot of ways that professional content creators like that we've interviewed deal with that. And I'm curious, what's your philosophy when it comes to that stuff?
I definitely, you know, if I can separate the scroll from what else I'm doing, it can be really rewarding. It can be a way, you know, making art is a very, very solitary practice generally. And it's really nice, you know, especially with these check-ins where I'm, you know, like this is what I painted today, you know, and getting some feedback and just, you know, talking to people about stuff that I love. That's really rewarding. It can be very, going like blowing up, like getting 30,000 followers in a couple of weeks, was like, it wasn't traumatizing, but it's deregulating. Like your brain is not equipped to deal with that, you know, that much input all at once. So it can be, it can, like, I cried. I cried several times over those few days where it was really, really getting, because it was just completely overwhelming, you know. And I'm like, this amazing thing is happening, and I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. This is like, oh God.
It's
And that's
overwhelming to get that much engagement.
It is. And it also goes back to, the imposter syndrome and your inner critic and the stories that that we tell ourselves get so loud when you're in the process of leveling up. I call my inner critic Helen. I named her after this really particularly terrible bar patron that I had years ago. So I can be like, oh, thank you for your input, Helen.
Yeah.
But I can always tell if I'm kind of on the brink of leveling up or making a decision that's going to level me up, because she gets loud.
What are some of the decisions you made early in your artistic career, like this social media journey, that did help you level up?
I mean, honestly, seeing reels happening and deciding, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to just try. I see what some artists are doing. I'm just going to try to do this. It was huge because all of the platforms were pushing video. And I saw other artists, like, their engagement, their reach really dropping because they were just still and still are in some cases just posting photos. They weren't showing up themselves. That was really hard. Like not just standing there with my art, but actually getting on camera and talking.
It's intimidating to be seen. Right?
It is. That's an affirmation that I say often. I mean, I have sort of a series of affirmations that I use, whether or not I'm having difficulty. I mean, I just try to do them all the time. But one of them is, it is safe for me to be seen. It is safe for me to be seen.
Above your canvas, you have a handwritten phrase, "My purpose is to blow my own mind."
Yeah.
Why is that phrase important to you?
Because when you take something like this that's so fun and so cool and you turn it into a business, it's easy to forget just how cool it is, and when I see that, and I mean, and again, my ADHD brain, I often forget it exists. So every once in a while I discover it again. But it's to remind me, like, look what you're doing here. You're going to do something amazing with this painting. Like, there's always a point in a painting where everything looks horrible. There's faces are all wonky, like it's, and you're just like, oh God, this is, oh no, I've wrecked it, and then I pull it together and it turns out amazing. So, remembering that is a thing, sometimes even to remind me to turn around and look at some of my other work and be like, I did that. And I don't even know how I did that,
That's awesome that you keep some of your work from the past as inspiration. And I'm curious, in that vein, what are some of your methods or even routines or rituals that you do to find inspiration or to inspire yourself?
I mean, honestly, I find it quite inspiring and helpful getting that feedback from people who, aren't, they're not looking at what I'm doing as a business. They're just like, whoa, look at that painting. That's amazing. Or they tell me stories about watching Star Trek with their families when they were kids, or, that feedback really helps me remember that the stuff that I'm doing, like, this is insane. This is so cool. Like, the idea, if I could go back and tell 12-year-old me that this is what I do now, like, never in a million years would I have ever believed it,
Wow.
Yeah.
That is something that, I mean, I want to, like, what do you love about your life now?
Oh. Well, I I live in this lovely apartment that looks out over the water. It's we actually lucked into it because we ended up having to move during the first lockdown, and we just happened to look at this place because it was one of the only places that was available, and it just was perfect. So I have like 9-foot ceilings, so I can put my easel up all the way. I have a big space I can paint in. I don't have a schedule. I mean, I should have a schedule. To be clear, I should have a schedule. But
3
but
reels, 2 right?
exactly.
2 carousels.
Yeah, but I have so much freedom, to choose how I'm going to spend my days, what I want to work on. It's just, it's so great. I mean, I live here with my partner and this 17-year-old, very, very old cat who is a lovely little fellow. And it's just awesome, and I get to spend so much of my time just diving into all of the stuff that I love.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds really nice.
It's awesome.
So you're saying it's worth it to go after that nerdy passion business?
I think so. Yeah.
You're saying it works?
Yeah.
Crazy. I also wanted to ask about the different hats that you wear. There's so much that we've touched on that you do. The actual art, the various forms of marketing, whether it's on virtual TrekCon main viewer or...
Hey, Nerdpreneurs. We actually spoke to Jenny for another 45 minutes, and we covered a wide gamut of awesome subjects, including being an independent artist, selling lots of prints, some of her social media strategy, as well as how she actually takes great high-quality photos of her actual prints so that it looks amazing online, plus a bunch of other nerdy random rolls and rapid-fire questions. If you want to get access to the full episode uncut, you can do that by joining our awesome Nerdpreneur board. Board members not only get full access to this episode, but also a separate feed where you will have every single one of our full episodes that we've ever released. So if you'd like to do that, go to patreon.com/nerdpreneur and sign up to be a board member today. Now let's get back to Random Rolls with Jenny Johnson Art.
So now we're going to go ahead and move into the second section we call Random Rolls. Now, this is a little less serious and more fun. And what's going to happen is...
This has been very fun, so I know, yeah.
Oh, yes. We're so serious. We had like a 20-minute Star Trek discussion.
I know.
Wait, this isn't supposed to be fun. This is supposed to be serious where we talk about business.
Yeah.
Business.
We're nerdpreneurs, not entrepreneurs, because being nerdy comes first.
Nice. I like that.
See, that was a serious statement. That's what we need more of, Chris.
Exactly.
So please roll your D100, and we have questions that correspond to the number.
Okay.
Yeah.
45.
45. Do you play Magic the Gathering?
I do not play Magic the Gathering. I've never played Magic the Gathering.
Do you want to
plus one it? Yeah, I'm going to plus one it.
Okay.
Best Batman to babysit for you.
Best Batman to babysit for me. Now, I have an old man cat who Batman would be babysitting for. So
Batman has a soft spot for cats.
Yeah, right? So I actually feel like I'm going with Keaton. I knew
it was going to be Keaton. I knew it was going to be a Keaton.
Yeah, because he's just
fair.
Yeah, he's got a good attitude,
He seems like he's kind of the most fun. Like he's got a little bit of humor to him, but he's serious about the important stuff.
He's the least brooding of the Batmans, I think.
He really is, yeah.
Although George Clooney's not very brooding from what I remember.
No, I thought about him for a second and I'm like, I don't know.
He was just happy to be there. He's like, I'm Batman. I'm really handsome. It's
going to be a
Exactly.
Batman. I could be a Batman.
Exactly.
Yeah, I could do anything. I'm
George Clooney.
George Clooney. Like,
fuck yeah.
Yeah. This is our George Clooney impressions.
It was really good.
Yeah.
You got the little head thing. That's awesome. Yeah. That's the most important part.
I don't even remember what he sounds like. All right, please roll one more time before I lose it.
89.
All right, 18.9. This one comes up quite a bit. What makes a great friendship stronger?
Hmm. 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 I don't want to say shared trauma.
That
but
does help.
it
Oh my
We're getting
God,
the
it
hand
does.
motions though for those
Yeah.
for those listeners wondering what that pause was.
I think with my hands.
Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Things that make a good friend. I mean, honestly, just like honesty, um, a huge helping of humor, and a shared values. And I don't mean that in a like values way, but just in a like you just believe in the same stuff and
Like the Prime Directive.
yeah. Yeah.
And
replicators.
Or the Prime Directive or whether to break it,
Yeah, no, that's fair. Or to break it.
Yeah.
I will say on that note that Star Trek, if people watch it at a young-ish age, even there's values instilled in that show. I think better than a lot of shows do, and they're such fucking good values.
Yeah.
That in watching them as an adult now, it's like I'm so glad I watched this as a kid, and then other people who've watched it as a kid or as an adult that absorbed it. Then it's just I haven't met a Star Trek nerd that I didn't get along with because of values, so to speak. I can, if I find out someone's a Star Trek nerd, I'm just like, yes, okay,
yeah,
we're gonna get along.
Yeah, because you just or you hope, because
yes,
they do exist. They do exist. The ones that you're just like, have you watched this show? But
did they root for the Borg? Like
kind of, yeah.
Klingons.
Like
it's the Klingons. They always play Klingon in Star Trek Online.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. That's great.
We're going to do rapid fire. So this is the third section. Rapid fire. These are quick questions, quick answers, and we will let you know if you are right or wrong. So first up, of the Star Trek divisions, which of them would you be in if you went to Starfleet Academy?
I struggle with this, but there are technically only 3 divisions, really. Like,
oh yeah, I use Star Trek Adventures rules.
Oh, okay.
So we got medicine,
science.
So yeah, medicine and science, for example. We got con, we got command, we got engineering, we got security.
Either security or command.
Really?
I can't narrow it down. Yeah.
What? Wait, why?
Why not?
These are supposed to be rapid
security?
fire. No.
That's my next rapid fire question is what?
Why?
Security because like badass because
You're a red shirt though.
No, you don't have to be.
I you got to be careful to send a red shirt down on the planet.
Yes. And command because if I've got to choose one, I'm not a scientist. I'm not an engineer. I'm I'm
okay.
I'm not a doctor. Yes.
Very good.
What's your favorite Rush song?
Oh man, so many. Right now I'm really feeling Xanadu.
Nice.
Right now, yeah, but it oscillates.
An obligatory Canadian question. I had to throw it out.
But also for the listeners, you are wearing a Rush shirt.
I am wearing a Rush shirt.
There we go. It's like Chris had inspiration somewhere. I'm going to stick to the Star Trek vein for a while.
Love it.
Favorite captain?
Picard.
Okay. I wasn't
sure
if
there's a lot of context behind that.
I wasn't sure if it was hard to choose your favorite child or something like that.
It is. Yeah. It is. And it kind of depends what show I'm watching at the time. Because because other times I'm like, oh my God, Janeway's amazing.
Right? Sometimes I'm just like, damn, she makes hard choices, but she does it so well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
She was probably I think on one of our previous interviews, we got into it with Arcane Anthems, and he was like, Janeway might be the best of the captains in terms of what she had to deal with, biggest challenge, and kept it all together and got them home. Like, what? Spoilers, but yeah, they got them home. Like,
oh yeah,
it's been out for over a decade. People, watch your Voyager. All right,
eat your vegetables.
All right, I'm going to go in a different direction. Predators or Alien?
Friend or foe?
I just say franchise-wise. Which one? Which one?
Alien.
Favorite first officer?
Oh, come on. Ransom.
I'm sorry. Who?
Lower Decks.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I have to admit, I haven't stuck with Lower Decks. I did season 1 for about 5 episodes, and I was just like, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't.
You've lost your Star Trek cred.
Hey, I also, I'm sorry. I just couldn't. But I might give it a try because there's only 5 seasons now that I know that.
Yeah, and there's not that many episodes, and there's so much. There's a lot of like good stuff in.
I don't know if you can really answer this, but does it get better?
Yeah, I found the first couple of episodes were so this and just so like kind of it felt slapsticky. It took some time for me to be like, oh, this is actually the people who make this actually love Star Trek.
Oh no, yeah, they clearly do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, slapsticky is a really good way to explain it. I felt it kind of lacked the heart and was just like trying to get people's attention.
I feel that it finds it. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give it another shot. Thanks.
No problem.
Okay, so your favorite first officer is from Lower Decks.
Well, yeah. I mean, I love Riker. I love Riker. Riker's amazing.
You can have more than one.
It's so hard to
officer.
decide.
No,
it's so hard.
You can have more than one first officer.
I mean,
yeah. All right.
Favorites are hard.
Yes.
All right, favorite. Okay, what's the best Weird Al parody?
The Saga Begins.
Good answer. That is a good answer.
100%. That parody song makes me cry. I love that song.
And it's so well done. It's so perfect. I honestly
think
perfect. Yeah. Great answer.
Not what is it? White and Nerdy?
No.
Okay, sorry. That one's really fun for me. When I discovered that as a kid, I was just like, wow, this song is so perfect. I resonate with this.
I think we are in the generation that really we're just, and I'm saying this because I'm a little bit older than Frank. This is the reason. But I think when the Phantom Menace came out, it hit at a certain time where you're like, I didn't hate it when it came out,
right?
Or anything like that. Like there got so much hate. I actually liked it a lot, and I really enjoyed it. And then when Weird Al did The Saga Begins, it kind of just like, oh, I love this too.
Absolutely.
So I feel like that's I get that. I get it.
Yeah. Like I still have it. I have it on rotation.
Oh,
like in my
I could
playlist.
sing that song right now.
Yeah, me too. Oh my god.
I really, there's this chasm between where you guys are with Weird Al and where I am. And I just really wish I could bridge this.
He's going on tour.
I just can't. I'm so sorry.
I was looking at tour dates.
He's only coming to Canada one place right now, and it's Toronto, and it's in 2025. So I might, and he's playing Rogers Arena. I think it would be epic to see.
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. By all accounts, he puts on an insane show.
I saw him at an outdoor festival in Ottawa, lovely Ottawa, a long time ago. And he played before Bill Burr came up, actually. It was a weird thing where there was like, he was like, this is the comedy night at the big music festival.
Amazing.
So we have Bill Burr and Weird Al beforehand. And he only played for like 45 minutes, but it was a super fun set. And,
amazing.
I'd love to see him do like a full on like produced Weird Al show would be amazing. Yeah. So we've got through 3 rapid fire questions in 20 minutes, and
I love
I
it.
think
Okay, all right.
we got to speed this one up.
I'm going to stick with the Star Trek vein still. So, of the different villains that each show has, not per se the villain itself, but like the people that they represent. You know, you've got the Borg Queen, you've got the Gorn now, you've got all these different ones, the Xindi even. You know, which of those were your favorite villain group?
Taking it, I feel like the Klingons in Star Trek 6.
The ones that liked Shakespeare?
Yeah.
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 They are really good.
And they're just, because it was like that. Yeah. I'm not supposed to explain this. I'm not supposed to
No.
explain this. I'm
Let's
doing
move
this
on.
wrong.
All right. Go-to karaoke song.
If I have someone to do it with, Love Shack.
Good answer.
Yeah. Otherwise, oh God, Bob
Bon
Seger.
Jovi.
Nope, Bob Seger.
Well, Bob Seger. Rock and
like,
roll.
No. Oh my God.
Like a rock.
No. Oh my God. Why? I'm like literally drawing a blank. What's wrong with me? Oh
Old time rock and roll.
That's
One second. I got it.
Like
Night Moves.
Night Moves.
Oh yeah. Okay. That could be really good.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
That was a struggle.
Sorry, Bob. We almost got there.
All right. Fear the AI or embrace the AI?
I just want AI to like solve my problems and not be art, because it's you know what I mean. Like I have so many things in my business that AI could like fix for me, and it's out there making paintings, and I'm just like, no, this is, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like we're focusing on the wrong things.
You should solve problems, not create art.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like not fear, but not love in its current iteration.
I totally agree. I actually, speaking of solving problems, something I wanted to sort of wrap up on was I asked AI for some ideas of business ideas for oil painters. And I started off, some things that are, good places to start, either goods or services that someone with this expertise could do. And it suggested original paintings, prints, reproductions, custom artwork, and merchandise. Services could be commissions, art classes, workshops, mural painting, restoration, repair, art consultation. I said, okay, that's great. Now let's get a little bit more wacky, but stay realistic. It said hand-painted clothing and accessories, oil-painted furniture, personalized pet portraits with a twist, living paintings. That one I should clarify. Combine oil painting with other art forms. Paint a backdrop and incorporate live plants, small sculptures, or even moving parts to create dynamic and evolving artwork. And then, art battles, live painting performances, oil painting therapy, paint and slip. Or sorry, that sounds funny. That sounds like something else. Paint and sip.
Gotcha.
With a master. Paint and slip. Oh boy. Oh, whoa, wild time, everybody. It's like I envision Austin Powers all of a sudden. Oh no, I can't get up. Oh, the paint, I'm slipping everywhere. And then art-based escape room. And I said, awesome, thanks. That's super helpful. Now let's just get rid of reality. Tell me some other ideas. And it said absurd goods, edible oil paintings, pocket-sized pet portraits, sentient paintings, camouflage paintings, which I'll elaborate, create artworks that perfectly blend into their surroundings. Hang a painting of a blank wall on a blank wall.
Hidden art.
Yes. I was like, oh, where's that beautiful piece of art I had commissioned? I can't find it. Absurd services, dream interpretation through painting. Paint by scream therapy.
Ooh.
Historical figure painting seances. Channel the spirits of famous artists from the past. Van Gogh, for example, to create collaborative paintings with a ghostly touch. Disclaimer, seance may or may not result in actual contact with the deceased.
Oh my God.
Art heist experience. Stage elaborate art heists where clients must use their knowledge of art to problem solve skills to steal a priceless fake oil painting. It says fake in parentheses.
That's amazing.
So AI may not be able to solve all of our problems, but it sure can provide some good solutions for anybody looking to use their oil painting skills, but maybe not wanting to start exactly the same business as you.
Yeah.
But they have now some new ideas of where they could take that expertise.
Absolutely.
So thank you, AI, for that.
Thank you, AI.
Insight. Just don't paint, AI, please. Not yet. Not yet.
So many of our listeners are aspiring to do and be what you're doing right now. And I just wanted to finish our interview with this last question of why should people go after being a nerdpreneur?
I think there's something to be said for, if you have something that you are passionate about, and that there's an avenue for making a career out of it, like, why wouldn't you do that? If you're looking to start a career, you're looking at doing it for a long time, ideally. And why not do something that actually makes you happy? I painted landscapes and sailboats and people's pets and people's families for many, many, many years. And, and I liked it. And it was great. I made money, but it wasn't until I got to start painting the stuff that I love and making those connections with people and getting to talk about what I love that it lights me up, right? Like it's work, but I love it and I get to do something that I love. And I think that's something I think anybody would want to strive for.
Well, Nerdpreneurs, thanks again for listening. And as always,
keep it nerdy.
You are awesome. You brought lots of wisdom and fun to this podcast. If people want to check out what you're doing, get some art, or just even follow and engage with your content, where can they do that?
Well, you can go to my website, jennyrjohnson.com, where you can find it's like the hub for everything. You can check out interviews that I've done on various podcasts, this one included. You can sign up for my mailing list, which I send out just once a month, but you'll get a heads up on any new work that I'm doing, or if I'm dropping a print, I always let my mailing list know first. And then if you want to kind of see what I'm doing on a more regular basis, you can check me out on social media. I am still hanging on the dying, rotting corpse of Twitter, just because I have some European folks who still follow me over there. And on Twitter, I'm calling it Twitter, I am at Jenny R. Johnson. But everywhere else, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, I am at Jenny R. Johnson Art. Oh, and my website, on my website, you can get to my shop where you can buy prints of my work, jennyrjohnson.com. And you can also pop over to Virtual TrekCon on Tuesdays and Friday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, for either the main viewer on Tuesday nights, check out the latest Star Trek news, or Star Trek and Chill on Friday nights.